Hello, everyone. This is Daniel and Liam in a call together talking about Kendraio App. And I'm going to give a demonstration, and Liam's going to ask pressing questions. And there you go. So, Liam, can you just say, where are you right now? What's this building you're in?
Where am I? Oh, I'm in Norwich in a place called Lucer's Emporium, where we recycle all kinds of strange objects and artwork and furniture of the past. It's a kind of like a co-op, kind of a co-op where people sell their wares and trade and do their thing. We have a gallery.
Nice one.
Okay.
Cool. We'll go into that a bit during the demo, I'm sure. So I'm going to share my screen. Share my yeah. And can you see that? And then I suggest we both turn our video off, so that.
Okay. Yes, I have that.
Okay, so that's.
I should stop my video.
Stop your video.
Yeah. We still hear each other.
And so here what you see is the GitHub page for Kendraio. And right at the top, you see Kendraio App. So we're going to click on that.
Okay.
And we're going to get the latest version, which is a bit risky because our developers are still working on it. But I'm just basically showing how you can actually find the latest version in the wild. And we scroll down to the bottom, and we can see the latest version was deployed 3 days ago. So let's have a look at that. So we fire that up. And here is Kendraio App. And it's work in progress. So yeah, there's lots that could be wrong. There is lots that's wrong. There's lots of work to do, but I want to take you through where we're at. I'm just going
to that's great.
But yeah. So effectively what it is, Liam, is an asset management tool and with other stuff and the ability to plug into existing services. So let's first of all, let's get some test API data in. Let's import this. So you can do this at home and play around with this directly, but I'm just showing you how to get this. So now we've got some test data in there. We can look at assets and we can take a look at files, for instance, because I know you're going to be obviously working more perhaps in the picture world, but we've geared this a lot to the audio world initially. And
yeah, not exclusively, Daniel, but that's okay. That's probably where we're concentrating now.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So the files could be any kind of digital asset. And also after talking to you and other galleries, we're interested in, making pointers to physical works of art. So, and then talking about the rights associated with those works of art as well as images, as well as music files, recordings, compositions. Yeah. So, and then we've worked on this mainly for musical works. So we've got works here. We've got some test data in here. And then we've got recordings and ISRC numbers, which are kind of signifiers for a recorded release. And we've got releases.
Is that an industry term?
It's an industry standard, yes. So in every industry, you'll get these identifiers, and so for compositions, it's ISWC. So there's different identities. So that's one aspect. So it's a local sort of repository of your own data around what, and obviously we populated it with known tracks, yes. But these, we would expect an artist, a manager, or a record label to have the assets that they were working on, the artists that they were representing, or maybe a gallery would have again the assets of the artists that they were representing, so they could manipulate those, store them. And so I'm going to tell you the other aspect of the app, which is to connect to other. Let's just close this down. Connect to other services. So we're building things called adapters, which are effectively API clients that plug into services with APIs. So, and an API looks like, this is getting a little bit technical, but it looks.
You want to just say what an API is?
Yes.
Very
good. An application programming interface.
Thank you very much.
So it's a way. So humans get to services via web browsers or apps that have human interfaces, human user interfaces, and machines or services or agents get to services via APIs. And so it's a way for us, for a kind of a piece of software to connect to another piece of software. And I guess
so for humans to understand it, it's an app for machines.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can see, if I show you this one, it's a way for an agent to get access to a service. So these are the kind of basically the calls, they call them calls that are exposed via a service. So list all photos, and this is the description of how you get those photos, or how you push photos up to this service called Unsplash. And then you have a list of the objects. So you have a person object, or you have a photo object. And these are the kinds of things that we're interested, because what we're interested in doing is creating this app, this Kendraio app, as a way to interface to services that have APIs. So if we go back here, so we're building API clients for many services that have APIs.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, anytime.
Okay. As you know, although I'm here in the gallery at the moment, the project that I'm really kind of engaging with you about is culture banking. So one of the objects, probably the object actually of that project, is to enable a variety of different people or organizations, rights holders in this case, to use an app like this that interfaces them with the whole, not the whole, but with a variety of sort of platforms and the marketplace.
Yes.
One of the things that's really central is a question of how a diverse group of people might assert their rights. When obviously, if you this is maybe ahead of the game, but if you've got a dashboard where you can send out your digital asset, be it a picture or a print or a video, so many different platforms. What does the app? What does Kendra aim to do, or does it aim to do anything in terms of enabling them to actually organize their rights in the first place?
Well, okay. So
what I'm suggesting is that once they've kind of gone, are you accepting the terms and conditions of every different platform that you're dealing with?
Okay, so where we're at the moment, currently in the world, is so you've got lots of different sectors, be it the art sector, be it the music sector, or photo sector, or whatever, a video, and everything is done in a different way, slightly different. and that's on a different sector basis and a different country basis. And so this is a staged approach. We are trying to, within what we're trying to do, is make it easier for creative people to distribute their content, assert their rights, get remuneration for their asset, for their creative works. And there is no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no correct answer to any of this. There are many service providers who have set themselves up to help creatives get value out of their creations. And what we're seeing is, I mean, these are wonderful services and we want to support them. And the way that we can support them is by making it easier for creatives to get access to them. And this is what this is about, is not necessarily providing the, well, I should say that, Kendraio App is not a service. It's an app that allows you to connect to services via a unified interface. And that reduces the amount of admin that you need to do in learning a new interface for every different service provider you use, and also copying the information over. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. And I would hope, my desire is that once we go down this road of harmonizing the service providers into a common user interface, then we start to learn more about ways that we can aggregate functionality. So, for example, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples and talk around it. Well, first of all, we can analyze workflows for a particular service provider. So we're looking at there's something I want to talk to you about, which is about claiming, that happens more in the music industry. But it could happen in other industries as well. And we need to build a workflow for those claims. So this is what it could look like. So it's about analyzing how things happen in the real world right now, building that into a kind of encoding that into a kind of a semantic process, and then once we've done that analysis, then trying to harmonize that. And so what we hope to end up with is something where we can, for example, be wanting to upload a file to multiple places at the same time. And because we've done that analysis, it should be as easy as this to upload a file, download a sales report, upload your rights, and you should be able to select which ones you do it to and which services, and then and the thing about this is a lot of the hard work comes in managing the differences between all these services. But
that's partly my question, Daniel, because that is all about my questions around possibly what can be done at the generating end, where the rights are produced and uploaded. Because obviously, with all, I'm looking at Mixcloud, Unsplash. It's fantastic, brilliant, powerful tool, and really exciting. But obviously, I'm thinking, depending on what this kind of slightly spurious term rights, depending on what it is.
Well, rights.
I mean, the question, what I'm thinking, you wouldn't necessarily have acceptance of all of those platforms, would you? Surely it depends to some extent on what shape and form the rights take.
Exactly. Rights are about signifiers that either relate to ownership and therefore ability to decide what happens to your creative work, or it's about where does the money flow to, who owns it, and it's context based. So and it depends on who you're dealing with and what sector you're dealing with. It's not just there's, like I say, it's very specific to a particular territory, a particular whether it's you can add my song to your political kind of like advert or not, and that's why there's a lot of sometimes that's been done without permission. So it's about permissions, or it's like, well, if you're going to make a movie with my song in it, then I want to get paid something. So, and there's all of these aspects. And there are existing systems and services that enable you to manage these rights in different ways. And
one of them on your list, I can see.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously another one, which is a big a set of organizations that we need to interface to, are the collectives, otherwise called CMOs, PROs, copyright management organizations, like in the UK, the PPL and the PRS.
Yeah.
We need to interface to those. So, I mean, I've tried to register one of my songs on the PPL and the PRS, and it's a long form, and no wonder it's several pages long, and for one song, and no wonder many artists don't bother, and obviously they then lose out on revenue. So what we hope to do is via this app. So, for example, I can list my recordings, and then I would want to be able to, and this kind of links back to the claim thing that I was talking about. I want to be able to list a number of tracks. I then want to be able to say, right, let's send this off to the claiming system, my claims organizer. Let's obviously I might be claiming that I was a vocalist on these tracks, and then now my claims are in here, and I can edit them, and so it's all these workflows that I need to be able to mimic, in a sense. What this is what currently goes on in these services happens on individual websites. So there's one for the PPL, one for the PRS, one for iTunes, one for,
It's potentially massively complex. But I mean, would you say that it sounds like a contradiction in terms, but are we trying to collectively enable people to individually manage their own rights?
I don't know about the collectively at the beginning, but we're trying to enable people, individuals or agents of those individuals. I mean, there's no reason why an individual or a band or a group of artists, whatever they're doing, it could be time-based art or it could be static art, then want to sub that task of management out to someone else, like a manager or a record label or whatever, or a gallery, or an agent. And that's another aspect of what we need to put into the app is permissions, so that an artist can then add roles into add people in to manage their work, to have the permissions to manage their work. And so that needs to be in there. Yes.
So there's a potential within the capacity and the way that you're developing the app for this idea. I mean, I think at the project that we're involved in is very interested in the idea of that sort of content collectives, so although you may have a large group of people who have creative rights, they are songwriters or they're painters or printmakers or whatever, but they want to purpose those rights collectively. That's there. So they may or may not use an agent for that, but what it would be very exciting from my perspective if such a group of people could come together around the rights that they own and produce. And have an application like possibly like this, where they could do that. I mean, I'm interested in a route through this, if there is one that sort of enables that. But obviously, I don't want to hoodwink it, because you've got to think about more than just that, I realise.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be able to enable collectives. And I shouldn't say collectives, groups of people to manage their collective work. So if I show you, for example, this in the music domain, so we've got, if we go to database and add a file, add a piece of audio, call it green, add this, and then add a file. Let's see how this works. Open this. So we've got a piece of audio in there.
It's great to see this working, Daniel.
Yeah, great.
I haven't seen this, so I mean,
that's wonderful. So then we can add other, we can add roles in a sense, or rights, or in this track. So we can add. I can spell these right. Drums. Okay. What else do we have? So traditionally, rights tend to be equal all the way across a temporal work, like a song or a video. But what we want to be able to do is describe them in much greater detail. So we should be able to say, well, the bass sort of happened here, the flute part happened here, and we can change the splits, the ownership, or the how much vote you have in permissions, perhaps.
This is the bit. This is hugely exciting to me, Daniel, because these titles, drums, singer, guitar, flute, they're agents. Traditionally in a songwriting scenario who have contributed in such a way, and you're defining that. But actually, you could be much more imaginative with what those entities are.
It could be any, it could be anything. We can add anything we want in here.
You're creating a sort of trail of rights and asset flows, aren't you? So
we can take.
They could be water, or they could be things that you want to resource.
Right. So what we're creating here is kind of like within any particular object that you want to have maybe gain revenue or from, be it a work of art or have a decision-making process about what happens to that art. Then you can describe what either who should receive money or who should be able to make a decision about that object. And so, for example, I mean, this is being done in many different sectors. So, for example, in the 3D printing space, I know a lot of work has been done with companies such as Sensorica. And this, I just want to put in a shout for the open value accounting systems that are being researched at the moment. But this lends itself to that. It's kind of like a user interface for smart contracts, in a sense that describes the splits and what happens to an object or the rights around or permissions around an object. And so we want to model that using interfaces and create interfaces around that. And I must admit, in the music sector, this information should be in the digital audio workstation. It should be in something like Pro Tools or Logic Pro, or you should be able to grab this out because all the samples should obviously should tag the people involved. But yeah, in a production environment, you could have the material and that went into this has a cost, and perhaps if that was provided into the mix, the design. So I'm kind of mixing sectors here, but you get the picture. It's a generalized system for creating
absolutely, Daniel. It's very powerful. It's fantastic. Would you say anything to people who are looking at this and using entirely sort of analog systems for producing artwork? So if I'm a traditional, which I have been in the past, printmaker, and I'm working in intaglio printmaking, and I'm still kind of scumbling metal plates with ink.
But you still want to be able to somehow interface with people that want to take your art. So, for example, you might want to list your artworks. You might want to tag them with metadata around when were they created, what was the title, and then you might want to allow a gallery to have a list of those. So you give them permission to see that list. And then, rather than having to copy and paste it into somewhere else, you just add them into your system, and they've also got a system equivalent to this. If not, I should explain that with Kendraio App, we're not expecting it to be the only system out there, because there's a lot of existing systems that already exist.
I think the question, Daniel, is around the idea, because I do meet artists who say things along these lines, where they just say, look, in the intellectual property, the whole system is a kind of an enemy to me, in that I make original works and I sell them. Maybe some people don't want copies of some things, and maybe
it doesn't have to be about copies, Liam.
No, I wasn't about to say that. But what I was going to say is that for someone who would have traditionally stayed away from the notion of rights in any sense beyond, a sort of fine art object, could something like this be a tool that enables them to begin to access?
Okay, I'm going to step back a bit. I'm really not trying to force this onto people that don't want it. That's one thing. It's really important, because I think that, if people are currently using systems that are just very, very admin heavy to do the work that they want to do, then this is about saving them a lot of time and energy. If there are new areas that we want to look at, then that's possible too. And trying to get new, people who have traditionally done a lot of stuff, but are not engaged with the copyright, really. With their copyright, then I think there is an opportunity to give them tools to enable them to engage.
Yes, that's sort of what I was driving at, Dan. I'm not thinking about forcing. I'm thinking about possibly someone like a photographer who is very rightly protective of the images that they make, because photography is so widely shareable and so on, that they can actually pre-purpose and not necessarily protect. They can take some control and ownership of work that they share more widely, because they've got more control of it.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about strategy, Liam. It's very important. And I'm also going to show you tasks at the same time. The task list could just be all of your tasks that you have currently in, all the things that are going, either human-based, I need to get to the shops to buy some paint, or I'm in a rehearsal, or I've uploaded my tracks and what's happening to them, where are they? Things like that. So that, and then we've also got reports in there. Now, in terms of strategy, I think the best strategy here is to work with people who are currently needing this. Once we've then built the system in a way that serves the people that are currently needing this desperately, then we can start working with people who are not actually active. Because what we've done is we stress tested it.
Yeah.
And what we've decided recently, it was only quite recently, that we decided, as you might have understood, with what we're trying to do is aggregate a lot of functionality using these adapters into a unified interface. And what we decided recently is, in order to get to that point, what we're going to start doing is just exposing functionality on a service-by-service basis. Which means, for example, we're actually going to start it with YouTube as one of our first ones, because they've actually got a very good and extensive API. So we're going to expose services and functionality that are available by YouTube without trying to harmonize it with other systems. And what that will mean is, basically, in one sense, this will become a YouTube app that just allows you to do what you do via the via the website, the YouTube website, in terms of administration and uploading and downloading, and then, but you'll be able to do it via this app. Then what we'll do is we'll add other services like Mixcloud or Unsplash, and again we'll do the same for that. So these will become separate apps within this apps in a sense, within this combined app in a sense.
Then for each
yes,
other service.
Yes. Then by doing that, what will enable to happen is we'll be analyzing common functionality across these different services, and we'll be able to then start to say, well, we'll be able to get to this upload screen, and because we'll know what it takes to upload to YouTube and to Unsplash, we'll be able to actually build this. And I think
the broad interoperability kind of thing.
Yes.
Evolving. Yeah.
Yes. Because ultimately, what we really want to see in this, why we're doing this is we want to see interoperability all over the show, and we want to actually see an open protocol for media and for open value accounting. And I should say that I'm going to show you the GitHub repository again. The app and the adapter repository are separate. So the app includes the adapter repository, but the adapters are also free flowing, so that what we hope is that service providers can use adapters to connect to each other without using the app. So it becomes a resource for them. So, for example, all of the adapters are in here. These are the adapters that we're working on at the moment, and in this way, we hope that there's kind of a number of strategic reasons why working on a kind of collaborative, open software project, open source, I should say, as well. And free makes sense to services to come in.
So focusing on one service at a time in detail, but you're actually building adapters for that whole range of different service providers as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think what was becoming increasingly difficult was to conceptualize how we would build a unified system without actually, and that became very difficult to model. So now we're going the individual route with the aim of then modeling the unified and harmonized approach into user interface.
That sounds very wise. It's never well otherwise.
Yeah,
great, brilliant.
And other things in there we've got. This is very much work in progress. So we've got a debug mode. We've got show help, and I'm going to see if I can actually see if that comes up somewhere. The help screen. I know it exists somewhere here. There is a help button that comes up, but maybe not. Anyway, so we're going to have help. It's going to be multilingual as well. So that's
great.
That's going to be good.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and also the reporting. Nothing's there at the moment, but we're going to have graphs and different ways of analyzing your fan engagement and your sales based on. That
seems really important, doesn't it? If you're creating rights trails and asset trails, what's happening, then you almost need. So is that a separate app, or is that another function, or is that integrated into?
No, it's all going to be integrated into this. And I was just thinking in terms of physical assets, it could be hiring them out, and then you've talked about this in a sense, hiring them out to wherever and being able to gain revenue, and then dependent on what the agreement is, that the revenue that comes from rental of physical works can then go back into different pots based on the agreements. In a sense, the smart contract, again, I think it's, and I think what's really important, we are going to be building these adapters to work with blockchains as well. So what we want to be able to do is provide a unified interface ultimately for old services, existing services, newly released services, and future services that we don't even know about yet. And if we keep on creating these API clients to plug into these services, and there's not just one even standard about how to create an API. So we need to be quite flexible. So the one thing that we want to keep common and keep quite stationary is the actual user interface. So the user doesn't have to relearn a new system every time they want to add a new service. So it should literally be as easy as, I want to join Mixcloud, register me, log in, upload all my content, bam, I'm there. So because the app will know who you are, it will know how to fill in a form to register you, it will know how to log in, and it will know how to upload your content. And so,
how much collaboration and help have you been able to, and might you expect from the various different platforms like Mixcloud and all of these different services? Do you need presumably some kind of collaboration on this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We're in a chicken and an egg situation here, and very luckily we are funded via a consortium called Blumen. We're funded by the European Union. Blumen is a blockchain project, and it's got 6 other very big participants in it. So that's we're about halfway through. So we've got another 1.5 years of funding. So luckily, I can pay developers to work on this app, and so with regards to collaboration, basically we want to get it to a stage. We want to get the app to a stage where it becomes a no-brainer to start building and working with us, and to in some cases. Service providers don't even have an API, so we need to encourage them to expose that functionality so that we can then plug into them. And it's going to be a continual iterative process. And like I say, we'll probably start with the ones that have an extensive API like YouTube, start building that out, show that what we can do, and then hopefully and we've been speaking to a lot of service providers, and there are lots of people medium size who are just about to bring out APIs, and we're working, we're keeping in touch with them.
That's partly what I was thinking, Daniel, is there's also an opportunity from service providers' perspectives who might be able to work with you and get much more exposure to what they're.
Well, this is what this is about. We're trying to make a win-win for everyone, because Kendraio is not a service provider, so we're not going to take away clients. We're effectively a glorified browser, so that we do what the browser does, which enables visualization and functionality to happen on an external service. And so the user still has to have a contract, in a sense, a login with the service provider. So the service provider still owns, in a sense, the user as much as they want, as much as the contract says. And we just want to facilitate, exactly, the service provider getting exposure. I mean, in some cases, a lot of times we're kind of seeing that in any particular service, it's the consumer app that gets built first, and it's the artist-facing app that gets built last, if at all. And
I think the if at all is important.
Yeah, and what the opportunity here is, well, if we've got Kendraio app that has umpteen number of artists already using it, why not just build an API client, an adapter that plugs in to the app and plugs into your service, and you've instantly got a whole swathe of artists that are able to start using your service, and you don't need to go to the trouble of building your own interface necessarily.
Well, I think that's really, I think that's why we're talking, Daniel, because that's the sort of, you've almost, that's the scope of culture banking. That's what we're trying to sort of achieve that and create that aspiration. So I think it's really, really exciting. Can I just ask you from that point of view, if you've got sort of, groups of loose individuals or people who might want to manage rights, but they're not service providers themselves, they're looking at this wide kind of array of possibilities and maybe thinking, hell, how do I even begin? So I'm saying to people, there's this really exciting project called Kendraio IO, and they have this app, and I want to bring people in and get them to use this. Is it useful for you to work with people down to an individual basis?
Absolutely.
They're not initiated, if you like. They might be arriving like I am, a little bit cold.
Yeah. So what we need to do, Liam, is we need to analyze what they're doing now, and also we then need to analyze. If they're not doing anything in terms of rights, we need to figure out what could they do, and that's regardless of the app right now, because we need in every sector we need to analyze what is it that an artist or a manager or a collection of artists or managers need to be able to do, and what services do they currently use, if any, and then we can start to say, well, you need to list your assets. That's stage one.
That's where I'm coming in. Is beginning a really basic, because I'm looking at what do you do now, what could you do, and what do you want to do? So that's where I'm starting with this.
And we need to document that. I suggest using Google Docs on the Kendraio Google Drive folder, and that's working out really well. And the more we can get people to be working collectively, collaboratively within that space on Slack as well, then we can start to sort of build up a community around this, because this really it's an open source free project. It's the results of this. The app will always be free to use, and the fact that we have a year and a half more funding from the EU is a huge opportunity here that doesn't usually come around that often. I'm really going out to people and saying, listen, here's an opportunity. We can really do something amazing here that is going to be for the community and also for business. I mean, my God, this is it's like it's not as big as the internet, but the internet was a free resource in terms of the TCP/IP open protocol, and this gave us all, non-profits, for-profits, a huge opportunity to kind of accelerate, our growth as humanity in many ways.
Absolutely, Daniel. I mean, look, I'll join in for a second of evangelizing. When you say it's not the internet, in actual fact, I'm not sure I agree, because if you look at the big social networking platforms like, obviously Twitter and Facebook, the majority of the value is produced by us as individuals.
Right.
We, the user, we, the people thing.
Sure.
So actually, the likelihood of owning those platforms is almost, it would have to be so draconian as to be unimaginable. But in actual fact, what this is about is we already produce the value on those platforms.
Yes.
What we can do is take ownership of the value that we produce.
Yes,
and
exactly.
if you can distribute that sort of ownership and control, then you begin to, I think it is about the internet, because people in a dispersed way start to control content because we own it. And I think that's a really exciting thing for me.
And the lovely thing about, why I created Kendraio Foundation as a non-profit organization in the first place was that I really wanted to protect what we were doing, what we were building, all the systems we were trying to create, for people to use, and for it not to be sort of wrapped up in costs or anything like that. There's an opportunity to yeah, to get back control of of our assets in a ways, in more ways than one. I think the ways that Kendraio App could go are pretty huge in terms of autonomy and the power that it gives us.
Absolutely.
But we have to make it relevant and we have to make it work. And I think we can do that because there's lots of open source code out there that we are using. We're building all of this, incidentally, on something called Angular, which is also based on TypeScript, which is a version of JavaScript. And so it's very well-known building blocks for the internet at the moment.
And generally open source.
Yeah, all open source. Absolutely, everything's open source. Yeah.
Very exciting. Daniel, before, just for the purpose of this sort of video, which I'm realizing is quite static now.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to say, just in terms of the app, if people are watching this, in terms of its functionality and how people might come to it? Is there anything else that's...
I don't think so, actually. I think there's obviously got contacts in there. There's I think we've basically covered everything. I think we could have gone a little bit more into claims and looking at those and how we then integrate that with sort of
how that integrates
with the rights holders and then builds kind of then this is something work in progress and it's been sent off to the PPL. But I think
suffice to say they do link for now. That's something that's being linked.
That's being worked out. I mean, this is not live at this stage because we need to investigate this. But then these become tasks that are in the mix here. I think there's lots of opportunity. One thing, for example, is task management is a big thing, and that you end up having tasks all over the place on different systems. And I would like to unify that. I would like to have one place where I go for all of my tasks, and I can see where they all are. Be they on GitHub or Confluence or Jira or whatever system I'm using, I can see them in one place. And I think one of the kind of things I say a lot, this is about user-centric, human-centric computing, not service-centric or server-centric computing. And I think that's very important for me.
I mean, I've got one other question, actually, Daniel, about that, which is, I mean, obviously, this is hugely ambitious, I think, and I think it's really exciting. And as you've said yourself, you're working specifically sometimes, but in order to build something that's very general and accessible to a wide range of people. If I'm wondering if, in terms of the expertise that you've got, I mean, if you had a specific use case that came and approached you and said, look, what we want to do is like a fraction of what you're doing, but it might use some of the functionality. Because I feel a bit like this myself, because what we're trying to do with culture banking is to produce perhaps 2 or 3 really specific use cases and just demonstrate the process working.
Okay,
people can imagine it,
so yes, we are looking for more funding, more collaboration, and obviously that may not be for the whole of the app. It may just be for a certain aspect of it. So yes, we are definitely up for collaboration and going for more funding. And this could be EU or UK or US, and we can then build out certain aspects. So we could look more at the art world, or we could look more at the music or the image world, photography world, or the video world, and looking at
or gaming or whatever it.
Whatever it is.
Cool.
I think we might be running out of time pretty soon, so that's been wonderful.
I hope it's been useful, Daniel. It's been really interesting to actually see this. I haven't even been able to access it myself, so I appreciate the walkthrough. It's very good.
Wonderful. Look forward to catching up with you later.
Okay, Daniel. Thanks ever so much for this. Appreciated.
Take care. See you now.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.